Hello everyone. Uh, so welcome to part one of a two-part review video. Because you may have noticed that last week I didn't do any, or during the past week I didn't do any new videos. So now I have 2 weeks worth of books. So in this first part I will be reviewing last week's books and. And in part two, I will be doing the new books. So, yeah. So last week, I actually got most of my books on Thursday. I actually went after work to pick up the books at the larger shop. And because we've been having a lot of rain, that day actually it rained a bit. I decided not to go to the smaller shop and just get the missing book with the new stuff this week. Lucky me that I didn't go last week to that shop because as it turns out they must have had a delay last week, so last week's books came in with this week's new books. So if I would have gone over there on Friday, I would have been a wasted trip. So I was very lucky. So, anyways, uh, onto the books. So first up, Superman Wonder Woman number 18. The past few weeks, I've been complaining about how this truth storyline has been handled by DC, which is actually bother a lot of people. That it's just not linear. It's all over the place. The beginning is actually just starting to come out this week because of shipping schedule. So the before Superman is outed story is happening in Superman, and Superman comes out at the end of the month. So for the first 3 weeks of the month, we're already into the whole new status quo, but how we got there is just starting to unfold. I was actually thinking of just not reading the book, just picking them up, and then just sort at the end of September on October to just after all the whole story, because in September the whole story ends, just read the whole thing and try to figure out where each part fits and read it linearly. I've realized that that might not even be the case because every book is running arcs, so it might be a little bit complicated. Anyways, but this issue um, has been the much better book so far. Because unlike Action Comics, unlike Batman Superman, there are no editorial footnotes, telling us where to pick up the full story of something. There is continuity here. There are references to past storylines, not upcoming stories or upcoming issues. Past storylines. You really don't know where this fits. It doesn't matter where it fits. It's just a good story. And in fact, the first page does a great thing, which is basically telling us, this first page, everything we need to know about the story. Excuse me, a second. Sorry, I had my dog here, so she wanted to go out. I think she's still outside. She went. Sorry. Anyways, so this first page sort of summarizes like everything, you know, when they met, when they met, they fell in love, the new power, and being outed. So uh, that first page does a great job in letting us know what's been going on in the book, you know, in the whole in the book. Sorry. So this issue actually focuses on Smallville. Superman learns that there's a that there's something going on. Lana calls Superman. John Henry Irons has been disappeared. Superman and Wonder Woman go to Smallville and they find out that people are disappearing. And as the story progresses, we learn that everything that connected Superman to humanity, to Smallville, is slowly disappearing. So there are indications that there is a bigger threat in this whole truth story. There is something or someone that's poses a bigger threat to Superman, that whatever the reasons for Lois to out Superman, uh, might be, there might be something behind that, something much bigger. Um, so yeah, so I found this issue. We learn a lot more about Clark and his history. Um, there were references, like I said, to past stories. Basically, the stuff that's been going on in action with the Ultra Humanite and the Doom stuff. Brainiac, Doomsday, and how the people in Smallville are reacting to that, which is, uh, we trust you, Clark, but you're bringing a lot of trouble to us, so you might as well, it's better for you to get out of town, or at least just stay away from town for a while. Um, as for if you actually came across sneak peek, the sneak preview of the new status quo of the during Convergence, the Superman Wonder Woman sneak peek actually seems to indicate that the Wonder Woman Superman relationship is over, but quote unquote the breakup might actually be a ruse so that Superman can protect Wonder Woman from whoever is taking everything that is dear to him. Plus, the final page we get the Suicide Squad. So, oh, I mean Suicide Squad. Yeah, I think that the Suicide Squad shows up at the end. So next issue is gonna be Superman Wonder Woman versus the Suicide Squad. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Next up, Black Canary #1. I won't say much about it because I think a lot of people have been talking about it. I talked about it, going into that I bought this book. I added it to my playlist without even looking at it. Um, I love everything about it. I love the story. I love the art. The coloring is just superb. It's definitely added something to the book. So yeah, the overall look. I mean, this is. I mean, not only do we get a great story, but both the art and the coloring have definitely added given this book its own identity, and it's hard to imagine with just one issue anybody else doing the art. I mean, the art by Annie Wu is undercover by Lee Ludwig. You know, have they have their stamp on this book, and you know, in the long run, if this team ends this run, their run, and somebody else comes in, I don't think it would be the same book. Uh, it's got its own stamp, its own identity, and I'm loving it. Another number one I bought last week, Prez number one of 12. Uh, an interesting take on this very obscure concept of a book. Uh, it's satirical in its nature. Um, uh, you know, I just love satire. Um, I just find it to be a very cool, very different book, and I mean, it's worth picking up. I mean, one of my favorite, you know, I love satire, so political satire. So you know, this is a book for me, but it's worth checking out. Uh, I think it's got great potential. My final DC book for last week, Wonder Woman number 41. It's a much better book than it was the last run, or at least the last arc. Sorry. Um, it's finally sort of picking up. This issue it's more of a transitional issue. It's dealing with the stuff from the last arc. Um, you know, Donna Troy. We get to revisit Olympus, so we got Hera shows up, Zola shows up with the baby, um, his Fasty shows up as well. So it's just sort of it's very transitional until like the very end. We get the introduction to the new villain. We get, of course, introduction to the new costume as well. Um, it's a much better read, but I still think the pacing is a little bit off for me because it's sort of like scene. There's no, you know, it just Wonder Woman is with Donna Troy, then she's in Mount Olympus, then she's back on with his fashion, then she's back on Earth. Um, um, so that's at least my problem with the arc is like, you know, there are no subplots, if you will. There's no build up. You know, the villain shows up like at the end. You know, after apparently some kid going to commit suicide or something. The police are there. We really don't know much about so far about the about who Wonder Woman will be dealing with, but it just sort of bam. There's no smooth transition. At least, you know, that's my perception. My final book for last week was Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 10 number 16. So this actually sort of kicks off the Buffy Angel crossover. Still really liking this book. So I mean the covers are cool. I'm really liking the story. The art, it certainly seems that it's been so long since that show ended that now the art doesn't really depend on the likeness of the actors. We get the characters drawn the way the characters, you know, sort of like it's more about the way the characters are drawn and less about who they resemble in real life. It's hard to say, but yeah, I'm really been a while. I haven't reread this, so yeah, they end up facing a few demons as well. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. It's been. I mean, I haven't really reread these books for a while, so I really don't know what to say about them. Um, I also got from my shop the one of the promotional things that this is doing for the DCU campaign. So I got the Starfire reading postcard. Also, and something that really I found interesting that the shop is doing is that you can actually order stuff from them from Comic Con. So yeah, we got about what we should be doing. And so I thought that was cool. So I'm actually thinking of maybe asking for some stuff or ordering some stuff from the some back issues. It all depends on what they can get. So I got my dog here, so she really seems a little bit impatient. So I'll close now part one, and I'll be seeing you in part two. So I'll be back in a little while.